Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism, and this refugee video is sponsored by contribution from Hugo's son. And here's his story. Hello, please call me Hugo's son. This is not my real name. I'm 22 years old, male, and live in London. I've been watching your videos since 18 years old, so that's almost 5 years now. I realize my family is toxic and have tried leaving 5 times since turning 17. I'm still living with my family. I grew up with my mother, father, and sister. My uncle and his wife, my aunt, my paternal grandfather and paternal grandmother also lived with us during my childhood and early adolescence, but then left. My paternal grandmother comes to visit occasionally, but mostly stays with my uncle. My father's in his early 50s, so is my mother. My uncle is in his late 30s now. My sister is 2 years older than me, 24. My paternal grandmother is in her early 80s. My grandfather passed away in 2009. I have warm feelings towards him, but I don't remember him much. My family is from the former Yugoslavia, ex-communist bloc. Okay, so now I know basically know where that's coming from. So your ex-communist bloc. I was also born there, but came to the UK as a 4-month-old baby. My father, mother, and sister and I came to the UK as asylum seekers. My paternal uncle, grandmother, and grandfather came along afterwards. My father grew up in the provincial capital, while my mother was from a small village. My early childhood was spent in a council estate in Edmonton, London. Edmonton was and still is a really rough area. I don't remember much about those times. At around 5, we moved to an apartment above a shop in a slightly nicer area, but still pretty rough. Our apartment was facing a very busy road, a dual carriageway. A dual carriageway is like a highway in the USA, but walkable, with houses on either side, a large main road, if you will. It is in this period where I have a lot of memories. During this time, there were a lot of fights. One thing I vividly remember is digging my head into the pillow whenever these started. My sister was braver and would oftentimes get up and start screaming at my parents when they started to fight. She was 7, but she too would dig her head into the pillow just like me most of the time. Here's one of the fights that I remember. I must have been 6. I was in the living room. It was a small living room with a joined kitchen. On one side were bay windows overlooking the back alley below. On this side was the living room with its suede furniture, glass coffee table, and box television. I was sitting next to my father. He must have been 30 at the time. We had guests. My father's cousin was recently engaged and was around visiting. It was the afternoon. I remember how pretty his wife was. I referred to my father's cousin as uncle. My grandmother was also in the room. My father ordered me to go into the bedroom, away from the living room, as I was being too rambunctious. Wanting to stay with the adults, I obeyed begrudgingly, trudging to my room slowly. My father took offense to this. He got up, angry, and shoved me towards the door. As he did, I tripped over my feet but didn't fall to the ground. For whatever reason, he took even more offense to this and became even angrier. I now got my ear pulled into the next room, all in front of guests. See, this is how my father would act out in front of fucking people. He would bully me, beat me, and berate me in front of people because he feels like a small man. That's what your father's doing. And for some reason, these guys think that beating on a child makes them look powerful in front of other people. It's crazy. It's crazy. But they fucking believe it. The next thing I remember, I was on the top bunk in my bedroom, my sister in the bottom bunk. My grandmother was in the corner next to the computer. My mother was by the wardrobe and my father shouting at each other. I watched from beneath the covers. From what I can remember, my mother was shouting at my father for being too harsh towards me. The argument shifted to laundry. At this point, there was a knock at the bedroom door. My uncle popped into the bedroom. There were now 4 adults and 2 children in this tiny squashed bedroom. Things went silent. My uncle asked if everything was okay. He must have heard the shouting. He asked everyone to calm down, and he advised my father to take us with kindness. The phrase makes more sense in my language. Uncle came up with an excuse to leave and left with his wife. He was satisfied things had calmed down. As soon as the door closed, the fighting continued. My father grabbed my mother's hair and shoved it into the wardrobe to show her all the clothes that had not been washed. My mother hit him back. At this point, my sister, 7, jumped up between the two to stop the fighting. She screamed at my father, telling him to never hit my mother again. At this point, we were both crying hysterically. My mother said she was leaving and taking us with her. My father screamed that she wouldn't dare take the kids. My mother jumped in screaming that neither of them would have the kids, but she would take them. My sister and I both lied down in our beds, crying hysterically. What an upbringing. Great. So you and your sister are just pawns for all these fighting, battling narcissists. That's... The next day, my mother was taking me to school. I asked her whether we were going to move out of the house. She said that father promised to never hit her again. She blamed me, saying that if I had just been a good boy and listened to my father, none of this would have happened. Your mother's an enabler too, Hugo. Your mother's an enabler. She likes the drama. You know, I don't think she likes being hit. She may like the drama. She blamed me, saying that if I had just been a good boy and listened to my father, none of this ever would have happened, and that it was my fault the whole fight broke out. I don't understand. She went from standing up to me for blaming the whole fight on me. That was the first time I can remember that my mother really hurt me emotionally. Sincerely yours, Hugo son. It's always tough the first time the covert narcissist lets the mask slip and shows you who they really are. Especially if it's someone who you always thought was on your side and had your best interests and had your back. It's a hard lesson that we all have to learn. The covert, the enabler, is never on your side. And narcissistic parents are always going to fucking blame you. Make you the scapegoat for all their bullshit and for all their problems. Always. Another father who likes to show out in front of company, likes to assert his authority and show what I never understand why they think that type of behavior makes them look good. But they do. And it's always tough the first time the covert lets the mask slip and you see them for who they are. And you're still living with these people. So this has probably been a lifetime of them doing this. The fighting, the arguing, and then of course, it's all your fault. All their problems are your fault. Just like all my parents' problems were always my fault. It's the way it is. The narcissistic parents are always going to make you the scapegoat for all their bullshit and all their problems. Don't buy it. Don't believe it. Get away as soon as you can. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much, Hugo-san, for your contribution and your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or you'd just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism.